Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the ReDefineRVA Coaches and Coffee Podcast. Good morning, Demetrius.
Good morning. Good morning.
Wanted to talk about habits today and kind of riff off of a little bit of what we talked about in the past few episodes. Today, though, is going to be all about habits. And what we're going to start with is talking about why habits and why do we want to create habits and why do habits even matter?
Yeah, like Ben getting out of the habit of asking us, what are we drinking? You're supposed to ask about the coffee, man. Come on.
How could I forget? How could I forget? What are we drinking today, D?
I'm drinking the same thing from last podcast. Ironclad.
That's
Yep.
amazing. I've
Yep.
got Blanchard. You know it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was written in the universe that I wasn't supposed to ask today because it was going to be the same.
Well, because it's a habit, dude. It's a habit.
True. And speaking of habits, fun little stat is that 40% of our daily behaviors, our daily actions, are not even conscious choices. So, me drinking Blanchards, it's not even a choice. I just do it.
I believe it. I agree.
Yeah, right on. All right, so let's talk a little bit about why habits are important. You got any ideas about, or thoughts about why habits are important, especially maybe for you or for clients that we work with, or just in general, why you found that habits are super important for our daily lives?
Well, shoot, kind of just going off of that study there that you referenced. Pretty much, I feel like even though they said 40% of our things that we do is it's in our subconscious mind. Even consciously, subconsciously, whatever, everything we do is like a habit. It's a ritual. From waking up to brushing your teeth to a lot of the things you do in the day. I don't know what the study is for that, for how much we do in a day, but it's everything has been little habits that we built up since we were a child. We're taught, oh, you got to wash your hands, or you got to brush your teeth, or you got to do this stuff. And it just continually builds on that. So habits are very important because those are literally the steps that guide you to the things that you want to achieve. And actually, they build up who you are. Like your habits are a big part of your identity. The things that you're doing is all those little habits build up who you are. So super important.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm glad you brought up the piece about the cascade of events, and that was a really interesting concept in learning about habits and everything. Is how the moment that you wake up, there's usually a certain number of things that you just automatically do. You wake up, you get out of bed. Maybe you have to rush out of bed most days. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just sit around. Maybe you get on your phone. Maybe you go to the bathroom right away, brush your teeth, you feed your dog, you make your coffee. It could be any number of things, but those cascading events dictate what you do for like 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours of the day sometimes. And without actually thinking about it, you just do it. You just do it. And so just to what you said, those 2 hours that, all those little things and all those decisions that you make and don't make throughout the day are going to make you who you are. And that's a big part of your identity.
For sure. And how have you found them important for you?
My daily habits?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they can typically cascade me into a day that I'm proud of, or a day that I'm not proud of, or a day that I just didn't do anything, like didn't one way or the other. So some days, depending on how well those habits hit in the morning, and if I'm being aware and conscious of them, can take me into a very productive or a day that I'll say that was a good day for me. That was pushed me towards where I wanted to go. Or some days it's going to say, that wasn't enough for me. That's not indicative of who I am, and that's behavior I want to change. And I think, recently, given recent circumstances, there's been a lot of flux with those habits. Like you said about the routine and the schedule that we had before, these habits are all awash. They're all kind of different, or they look different, or they feel different, or whatever it is. But this one's kind of about getting them back and getting them back into place to take you to a place where you want to be. And so three big things that I've noticed out of daily habits or just routines, that kind of thing, is it really helps me with time management, or kind of understanding what I'm trying to do throughout the day. If I spend the first 2 hours just dillying around, not really having any sort of thing I'm working on or thing I'm doing intentionally, that's time wasted. And then time starts to spiral and it feels like you're never going to catch up with it. And then you feel like you wasted time, which makes you waste more time or feel stressed about wasting time. It's all this crazy feedback.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So time management will be the biggest thing. And I'm a huge believer in daily discipline and just kind of doing things repetitively for the sake of doing them and building that discipline, because I've noticed that's helped me a lot in my personal life. But if I do something in the morning and it's something small and achievable and I can build off that, I've actually really noticed that that's helpful for my whole day. So I usually try to fix like a small task in the morning that I can really knock out. But that lets me take control of my time and my discipline for that day. And the third thing is that I can focus better. And so when you have some systems in place like that, I mean, this can go from business to fitness to everything. Like this can go through all aspects of life. But if you have systems in place and where you're kind of you're taking out variables and you're taking out decisions, it's easy to focus on things that matter more. And so if you're really noticing that you're having a hard time focusing on stuff, you might be using a lot of that decision-making skill on another part of your life.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Would you say the same for some of the stuff you've been implementing?
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree upon a lot of that stuff there. And especially during this time here where, um, with things going on, like emotions and stuff like that building up and kind of taking over some of the stuff, having habits in place have been very helpful, from avoiding those spirals that you were speaking of, like kind of getting off track or especially in the morning. Like the morning, like I think really winning the morning is super important, because yeah, like once you like pick that one habit that doesn't serve you the best or serve the person you want to be or any of your goals or whatever it may be to lead to a productive day, it just spirals. You know, the first thing you do is pick up the phone and you're on Instagram and you're scrolling, and you're not setting yourself up for the best possible day. At least personally, I'm not. Because then from that, it's like, okay, now I got to get kickstarted and get my mind in a working mindset. From the beginning of the day, I just want to go into like, okay, what is it that like already like, so I don't even want to get into the habits yet if that's not where you want to go, but, but yeah,
we'll go down there.
But yeah, from the morning is just like, if I can dominate the morning, I feel much better throughout the day there. I'm less likely to get into a space mentally where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? I'm drained. I'm wasting time. And it becomes a hole and I lose that day. There is some days that it might happen because whatnot, I just don't get the footing right or I miss something or I'm just not feeling it. Some days you might not be feeling it. But there's little tactics that you can do and put in place for that as well. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. Let's return to that piece about not nailing it every single day or, that sort of piece later. But, it's important, I think, for people to attach not only, why habits are important, but the underlying why of, why are we actually wanting to lay these habits down, and try to figure out the real deep psychology of what you're actually trying to accomplish. And so, for us, we're talking about being productive and getting things done. And, that's all very well and good. But at the root of it, what's a why, or what's the reason that we're doing these things? Why do we want to do them? And maybe you could start with, what's your why for wanting to set your day productively and in success, or why do you want to train, or just start with some sorts of whys for you.
Yeah, I think the deep root of it for me, again, being that habits kind of encompass our identity, is for me, if I can be productive and have these days where I'm having these little wins, it leads me to be more successful. I want to be a successful person. I don't look at success only in like the things that I obtain and grab, but it's just making sure that I am being of service. I am doing the things I enjoy, I love. So if I can have these habits in place and lead to a successful day, I feel like a successful person. So that's like my why there for like productivity, even for like training. I see myself as a fit person. So having those habits in place of making sure I do some movement each day, as you know, some mindful movements and things of that nature there, it's building up that, it's just solidifying that identity of mine that I am a fit person. I am an active person. And that's the deeper root of that. It's just because I want to be a healthy, active person for the time I'm here on this earth. I want to be a successful person. I want to be a person of service. I want to be a person that shows up. So I need these habits there in place to be continued to, drive those whys.
Dude, that's amazing. You've got such a good understanding of underlying why. That's so much deeper, and not just the superficial, like, oh, I just want to have a good day, like here and there. You have a fundamental understanding of a longer vision of why you want to do these things, or why you want to set yourself up for success. And not only that, and you've actually taken time to define what success looks like to you and what it actually means to you, because it's different for everybody. And I think that's the important thing to understand, is that your why doesn't have to be our why, and our why is different than the next person's why. But as long as we connect that why to why we want to do these things, and that's going to intrinsically motivate us to do the things that we want to do, and to stay accountable to that. And so, yeah, like let's jump into just a little bit about these examples of, how to choose habits and how to align these things with your why. And I came up with 5 really good kind of rules or guidelines for determining, what habits to choose and how to align them with your why. But okay, so let's just go through those rules 1 through 5. What I found: number 1, easily attainable. So the habits that you choose need to be, number 1, easily attainable. So they don't need to be sky high goals and lofty things that you're not going to be able to attain, especially when you're first starting out. And then the second rule was to build on them slowly. All right. So, you might start with something easy and attainable, but after a year, that easy and attainable thing it could be progressed, or it might need to be progressed and make you just a little bit better here and there. The third one was make it sustainable. So again, something you can continue over the long term. Number 4 was, if you do mess up or you miss something, just get back on track. Nice and simple. Try not to miss twice. So you can use that example of, a week's habits, or you could even look at it on a daily basis, like don't miss 2 days in a row, or don't miss twice in a week, whatever it is. And that's something that can be progressed too. You might start, don't miss the habit, or don't miss the new habit in twice in 2 hours, or 1 day. Or you might not miss it twice in 1 week, and then you might progress to don't miss it twice in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then a month, and you might expand it a little bit like that. And that's a good example of progression, just from an outside perspective. And then the last one was stay patient. You got to wait for the reward, and so you got to make sure that you're giving it the time that it needs to be seen and be rewarded.
Yeah, that's huge. A touch on that real quick though, while it's on the top of my mind, with the patience thing. Also, what's really, I think I saw something or read something, but someone put patience, but also with persistence. Like, patience sometimes can be more of an kind of like you're sitting back and you're waiting for something to come to you. Where persistence is you're continuously trying to go for that thing. So I think they work hand in hand, definitely having the patience there, but being persistent. So you can't just not, you can't just sit around and like hope it's going to come to you. I'm patient, it's going to come, and you're not doing anything. You're not persistent. But every step that you just put in place of that leads to that persistence, making sure that you're not missing more than 2 days in a row and stuff like that to stay the course.
That's great, man. That's really good. That idea of patience versus persistence is the same as reactive is patience, and proactive is persistence. Patience it almost feels like waiting. If I'm just going to wait for things to happen, I'm being patient. They might not happen, but proactive or persistence is you taking that action and making things happen. And there's a big difference there. You're absolutely right. That's great. Yeah. So easily attainable. So let's go back to rule number one. Easily attainable. Making some goals that you can hit, you can build momentum, and you can thrive off of that. One example I really liked, and we can relate this to fitness now, is like if people are doing a 100 squats a day challenge, that for some people can feel like a huge goal, a lot of squats. And we've touched on this, I think, every episode so far, but like maybe your squat challenge is 10 a day. And that's easily attainable. And if you do extra, that's great. That's awesome. But 10 a day, you hit 10 a day for a month, you've done more squats than you would have if you tried 100 a day and then stopped.
Right? Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Yep. So easily attainable, it's huge. And so setting your and being realistic with yourself too, of like understanding, is that a goal I can actually achieve and sustain for a while? That's a conversation you have to have with yourself, and you have to be really, really honest about it. But yeah. Number two is to build on them slowly. So I really like the idea of that 1% better every day. Somebody once, gave me a great visual of this, of the baby step thing. And he shuffled his way across the floor. He's like, what you're saying is that if you want to get better, you don't try to jump across the room. You take these tiny little baby steps. And it was really funny the way he did it, but it was great. It was a perfect analogy. Like if you just take those little steps, that's not a new idea, that baby step idea, that 1% better. It's just moving slightly forward rather than not, or moving backwards, right?
Correct. So, I mean, that goes hand in hand with the first one. So, it's easy, attainable goal or, habit, and then that small step. So going back to the squat there, let's say 10 squats is your number. Doesn't mean it has to be 10 squats every day. Maybe you can do 10 squats one day, and then it's 11 squats the next day, 12 squats the day after that. You're just adding that one. Like, what's one more squat? What's that 1% a little bit better there to add? So, yeah, no, that's huge.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then let's really spend some time on making things sustainable, because I think you and I both have a lot of experience of, dipping out of sustainable practices and then back into them and in and out. And so, and this is what we've seen a ton with just people that come to us for help in general, is making things sustainable at all. And so, I mean, I don't know how many times I've heard this, like, I went so hard on this program, I did great for 3 months, and then I stopped for a year.
Yeah. Can't count.
Yeah, and we've done it too. It's not like anybody's not done this. But that information about making it sustainable changes the game all the way. And so when we started to realize, maybe it's not all about riding that motivation like to the max, and then when it dies, you dies off with it as well. It's like, ride that motivation and then be persistent and then keep making things sustainable. And so, like, there's this give and take of what you're starting and what you're going for, and you needing to make it attainable and sustainable, because those things do go very hand in hand. And then just staying the course, just making it sustainable and staying the course.
For sure. And you got to be real with yourself. Bringing up that story there. I mean, yes, it's happened to me. It's happened to you. It's happened to many of our clients as well. But you got to be real with yourself. You got to identify that. So when you're looking and you listen to yourself, when you say, oh yeah, I did this program, it went great. I saw great results this time, but then everything went away a year, and you're like, oh, I want to do that again. It worked. I'm like, hold on, listen to yourself. Did it actually work? If in that 3-month period you saw results, but then a year later you don't have those results anymore.
Yeah. What is the definition of working?
What is work? Like, did it work for a moment? Like, so you got to be real with yourself and identify those spaces there, because we can get caught in those loops, those habits there, where it's like, oh, but every time, and I even myself, like, I'm one of those people, like, I do like to take on like big challenges and high risk stuff because it excites me. I'm highly motivated. I start going, I get a lot done, but then I'm burnt out, or I can't continue it. My last time that this happened to me recently was when I tried to do like the 75 hard. And honestly, I had no real big reason why behind it too. It was a very superficial thing, like, oh, I'm just going to try to knock these things out, these habits here and whatnot. But it was so much at once for me. and there was no deep underlying why that I ended up failing multiple times. I tried to restart it and it just kept failing. And so this one, I didn't even get through the program. I just couldn't make it through because there's so much at one time. It wasn't going to be sustainable for me. And looking back, I've actually built some of those habits that I want to build because it was stuff that I was already doing beforehand. And I've done it over a longer period of time. I was just like, you know what? There's one thing. Let me just get at it every day. And I've done that. And now it's back in my routine. Like it took longer than 75 days, but it's now something that I do. And I don't have to like think about push hard.
Yeah. So it was almost it was an experience gaining thing versus a failure, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's important. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could look at it like, oh, I failed the 75-day challenge, but you learned from it and you've been able to implement some of these things. And had you made it something more attainable or just altered it slightly, you might have stayed that course the entire time.
Right.
Yeah. That was good stuff. Yeah, I personally did a program. I think it was probably November. I forget exactly when. It was about a 6-week program. I added 1 week in there. It was more of like a rest deload type week, and so I kind of stretched it to 7 weeks. But the program was amazing. It worked awesome. This is like a training workout program, training program. But at the end of it, I was like, yeah, that was awesome. I'm loving these results. They're great. And tried to get started on the next program. I just kind of kept putting it off and just didn't get to it. And that's because the program that I had just done felt like a monumental task, right? It felt, some of these workouts were 2 hours, 2+ hours long. They were very grueling. My body was like beat. and it was great. And I saw those great results, but I didn't stick with it. And then my workouts for the next like month and a half to 2 months were spotty here and there, and were different, and were no real focus to them. And so I did fall off of what I was trying to do. So that's an example of aiming maybe a little too high and not being realistic or making something sustainable. Great experience, learned a lot, great program, but didn't work for me in the end. That's the big question. So next layer for getting back on track, and I wanted to like bring back that piece about the morning habits of the phone or the days that it doesn't necessarily work out. And the point I wanted to make was that it's not the end of the world if it doesn't, right? So like if you look bigger picture, you stay sustainable and patience, one of the biggest things here. And you do wake up and one of your habits was, something positive or moving you forward, but you stayed in bed and you scrolled Instagram or you played a game. Is that entire day shot? It's not. And so you can absolutely choose at that point to win the next one, or to change a habit after that, or whatever it is. It's not like you've ruined it. You've not wrecked it, right? You didn't screw it up.
Correct.
It didn't go perfectly, but you can still get better. You can still do it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that people will typically feel like they failed and that they've screwed everything up and it's all shot when it's not. And that's the moment where they needed to persist.
Yep. Yeah. No, I definitely can. I look at times that has happened to me where I felt like, I messed up. There goes the rest of the day here, and I got to try again tomorrow, and not let this happen. But to try to avoid that stuff, because that's the case. It's not, you have however many more hours left in the day, 16 whatever hours it is, depending on how much you slept there, to get back on the ball or change the momentum and the direction of how things are going. And I think having some habits in place to just be like, okay, like if I do this thing, that's a positive. Okay, I know I got on the phone this morning. I said I was going to wake up and meditate or do yoga or work out, but I ended up scrolling through Instagram and feeling blah, took a shower, got to work. It's like, okay, so now like, what can you do? Maybe you didn't get in a full yoga workout, but can you knock out those 10 squats? Can you stretch a little? Like do something that's in line with something that you had an idea of, and then just go on. move to something else. Like just get back on the ball there.
Right. Yeah. Like it's never too late to start your momentum, right?
Mm-hmm.
No matter what's happened, it could be noon, it could be 2 p.m., it could be 5 p.m. You can always take that power back and achieve something that day that you wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, staying patient. I think we've kind of harped on that a lot, so we'll maybe just touch on that. But that's the big thing, man. With everything that you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to be, why do you need to rush? Because you've got a lifelong, like a lifetime to get to where you want to go. And if it's
Yeah.
really your why of what you want to achieve or what you want to do or what you want to be, you can be patient because it's going to be your whole life, and you're going to always be working towards that thing, no matter how incrementally or how slowly or quickly. But it's going to be your entire life that you're working towards it if it's truly your why.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on, I did want to bring it back to that question you had, and we'll kind of wrap up with this piece. But like the did it work thing, right?
Mm.
And so some people, when we talked about that program, I did it for 3 months and I didn't work out for a year. Did it really work? And the answer, most people I think would say no, because most people aren't looking for a 3-month thing and to be at the end of that is the end, right? That's not where we want to really be. What we're really thinking of right now is some sort of physical transformation or, a workout program, but it could be anything. So we'll use the idea of like a 3-month transformation program, but at the end of that 3 months, you may have seen what you wanted to see, but if you look at it in a year, did it really work? And I think that this kind of brings it to that idea of identity, okay? And that identity ties in really, really well with that first thing we talked about, the why. Like, why are you doing these things? Why do you want to be the way you are? Or what are you identifying as? And I see it, and I know that this is in Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. Or this one's in the Atomic Habits book, but it's identity is the central ring of the layers of habit kind of thing, right? And so identity is the central ring, habits is the second ring, and then the outer ring is the results. And if you really want to stick to habits and make changes and have them really, really work, then you've gotta hit identity. You've got to get to the core, to the identity. And maybe you can speak a little bit to that identity, habits, and results.
Yes, I know the chart that you're speaking of in Atomic Habits. There is something similar that Simon Sinek uses as well.
It's so similar. I was talking about this the other day. It's like the exact same concept.
Yeah. Exactly. Just for like branding. I can't remember in his book what it was for, but very similar. But yeah, no, I mean, you said it there. You pretty much put it in place where if you can define your reason why, and it be a solid why, not just I want to lose 10 pounds. That's not a why, not a deep why at least. Right. What's the reason why you want to lose 10 pounds? And then ask yourself again, what's the reason why that's the reason why? Give yourself the 5 whys and get that good layer, that good foundation. And then looking at those programs there, yes, it didn't work for the long term, but what habits could you take from those that could be long term? What can you learn from that stuff? Because even when we do our New Year's challenge, which is usually about a 3-month program, the way that we set it up, we're not saying this is a quick fix type thing. It's not made that way. You're going to come in, you're going to follow the same process that all of our clients go through. You're going to get a sustainable program. You're going to learn how to make sustainable changes in your nutrition. It's not like stop eating this, cut out that. And if so, you got to look for stuff like that. If it's like a restrictive thing, it's probably not going to work for the long term there. I saw a post from like Jordan Syatt on Twitter saying like, if you can't enjoy like the foods you like in your diet for like over a long period of time, then it's not going to work. Like it was some along those lines there. I can't remember the way he said it, but yeah, like how do you expect for that eating habit, those diets to work if you can't even have the things that you enjoy, not even in moderation or in a little bit and stuff like that? It's not going to last. So that identity, you got to kind of find the reason why, what are you trying to bring to the world? Who are you trying to be? And does that actually fit who you want to be there,
Right.
as a
Yeah.
person?
That's huge. That's huge. And to add to that, that piece of why and understanding yourself is, that piece of what do I believe about myself?
Mm,
So I think a lot of people that miss that identity piece, they may have hit results and they may have hit new habits that worked really well, but they still think negatively of themselves with regards to whatever we're talking about. And so let's relate it to fitness and say, came in for the transformation challenge. I got good results. My habits, I started eating better. I exercised more, and I liked what happened from that. But what do they, at the core, at the identity, what do they believe about themselves? And this one's the hard one to answer because it requires brutal honesty with yourself. But I would be willing to say that a lot of people, even after something like that, are still going to believe that they're lazy, they're not fit, they're not athletic, or they're not really living a healthy, active lifestyle. They just achieved it one time,
mm,
right? And so to change that piece, you have to go through the layers, but you have to really start to think of yourself, and you might have to be proactive with this, with a little bit of what's called vocabulary, like changing the way you think and actively choosing the words that you speak about yourself in. But you are going to have to really address that identity, because people who have achieved these things have certainly earned the title and the identity of an active lifestyle. Like, you're doing it, and you can do it for your whole life, unless you're telling yourself that you can't.
correct. No, that's huge. I think, yeah, I mean, that's big, man. The belief. If you, yeah, because even if you are getting those habits, you're doing everything that's leading you to become a fitter, better version of you. Speaking in terms of fitness, getting you to your results. If you don't believe that you are that person, or that you're deserving of what you achieved, or that you can continue that throughout your life, then yeah, you won't hold on to it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the way that you put it is the best. You got to be really honest with yourself there.
Yeah. All right. So I think we should wrap it up there. And I just want to review those 5 rules of the habits for people who might not have gotten them, as we went through them. But number 1, make it easily attainable. 2, build on it slowly, that 1% better idea. 3, make it sustainable. 4, if you miss, get back on track. 5, stay patient, persistent. Big takeaway.
Persistent,
Persistent. Love
persistent.
it.
Definitely, yeah. So yeah, that was awesome, man.
Yeah, man, that was good. Good stuff.
That was really good.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Hope you really enjoyed it. Leave us a comment, leave us a review, whatever you think. Please let us know. We're still doing this week to week here. So if you have anything you want to talk about, want us to talk about, let us know.
For sure, yeah. I mean, any of the subjects that you even heard, we can even go deeper. These are we're just trying to give you guys a good something to get started on and get started with. But if you guys want more information, please let us know. If you like something you've heard so far, yeah, let us know. We'll dive deeper into
Yeah, or just let us know what kind of coffee you're drinking.
it. Yeah, give us some other coffees.
Right. Yeah. All right, guys.
Later.